As always, there's a heck of a lot more Secret Show than there is time. I've got a whole bunch of stuff today. I've got Diamond Dallas Page, former professional wrestling champion, worldwide entertainer, turned yoga instructor. Wait till you see what I've got to talk to you about that. I've also got Charles Duhigg. You want to learn how to break habits, want to learn how to change habits for the better? This man knows all about the power of habits. Welcome to The Secret Show.
Hi, Chris. Ann Stone here from Massachusetts. I'm a fan of entrepreneurs who are helping other entrepreneurs be more successful, sharing their expertise and their passion. Gives me the warm and fuzzies.
Welcome back. I'm Chris Brogan. Wow, things can really change. We've had a little bit of a hiatus. We're going to be going some new stuff. First off, I want to tell you that I've got a new sponsor for the show. I have my friends at Citrix Online who bring you GoToMeeting. So not this episode, but in future episodes coming up, I will do a lot more stuff using GoToMeeting with HD Faces as my technology partner. Why? Not because they're just a client. It's great to have them as a client, but I like the folks at Citrix Online and I like the products. GoToMeeting with HD Faces is sort of like what Google Hangouts could be if it grew up and had much more high-def power. It's a collaboration tool and it allows me to do multi-person video kind of stuff. So we'll do a lot more of that. People ask me how I do my video interviews now. I've done a variety of stuff. I have used GoToMeeting with high-def faces before. I also use Call Recorder for Skype, and I do Skype in sort of a two-window or sometimes a split-window kind of performance. You can use any of these things. Why I like GoToMeeting with HD Faces and why they're a good sponsor for the show is that, first off, it's a lot more quality, solid kind of a technology. Two is it allows me a few other variants of things, like I could screen share and do other stuff. I guess you could do that with Skype as well. I can also do multiple people, and also I can use it with the rest of my go-to products like GoToWebinar and the like. So that's why. Let's get on to the rest of the show. First off, I wanted to talk to you about access. Let's talk about access. How do people get access to people who are a little bit above their pay grade or who have some other kind of influence in their life? What does access mean? How do you get it? One of the things I've noticed is that a lot of times people have this thing that they want to sell. They have something they're interested in, something they want to push, and they push too hard, too fast, beyond their capability or beyond their access level. I find it's interesting. There's people who do some work to make a relationship happen, to make an interaction, to do something ahead of needing to connect or needing to push something. And then there's others who push as if they're going to drown. They're never going to live past this moment if they don't push their thing on you right then and there. The thing is, that doesn't work very well for any of us. Most of us don't want that kind of experience. Most of us don't want that interaction where someone rushes up on us and tries to push something into our hand. We don't want it in the street. Why would we want it in any other context? Why would we think that just coming up on somebody and pushing something into their hands is the right way to go? The same thing happens in your inbox though, and it happens in your social network. People are all the time trying to just push something down onto you. If you're doing it out of desperation, if you're doing it out of hunger, how do you stop? Well, first, recognize it. Understand that that's what you're doing. Understand that you're pushing a little too hard, a little too fast for whatever reason. You've written the most amazing book and you need to share your amazing book. Whatever it is, access isn't really going to help you very much if once you get the access, you squander it. The way to get access to people is to build relationships where you're helpful to them first. Not how can I help you because I'm dying to ask you to help me, but just be helpful. It's amazing how you can cultivate a relationship that will then have much more value to you down line for when you really do need it than if you run up on somebody. The trick here, I guess, is to have the foresight to start building relationships. Jacqueline got me interested in wrestling. If I'd stop telling you any other piece of advice, that's the one. Build relationships before you need the relationship, because then when the time comes, it's going to work great. There's people I've known in this space. I just had a couple of great meetings in a row. I had a nice coffee and then a nice dinner with my friend Anthony. Anthony Anarino is, God, do I say your name right, Anthony? Anarino? Anthony is somebody who I really enjoy spending time with and who we have met socially a bunch of times in the past, and we talk to each other briefly online. I follow his blog, he reads my blog, we know each other. But like, well, there hasn't been an ask. Well, so the other day, there we are, we're having dinner together, and we say, what we should do? Okay, it was mutual. We should do a webinar together. We should do something to help people better understand sales in this new space. We should sort of blend our two knowledges and do something together. That is the perfect kind of ask, and that's access. Now, I was lucky to get access to a guy like Anthony. He's busy. He's a consultant. He does all kinds of work with people to help them do better sales, and I'm not his typical buyer. So to get access to him was a huge win. That's what we're looking for. So try to build relationships long before you need them, because then when the time comes to execute, you've got it. You've got it because you've had the relationship all the way up until then, and you're doing fine. Jacqueline got me interested in doing yoga after I watched the show Enlighten Up, and besides the fact that she's a yoga instructor. And one of the trips along the way was running into this weirdo guy named Diamond Dallas Page. Weirdo? He's a professional wrestler. He's got this background in wrestling, and he is fascinating. Take a look at just a little bit of the interview I've got with Diamond Dallas Page, and then I'll give you the link to the full interview so you can watch him in his glory. And I'm hooked. For the minute I see this, I'm like, okay, that I could do. And this is how I started doing yoga. This is why I now practice yoga, besides having a yoga instructor girlfriend, is that you made it accessible. Thousands of people tell you this. Tens of thousands of people tell you this. Is that not true?
It's really funny because I developed a form of yoga for guys who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga. Because I was one of those guys. And, at 42 years old, but you have to understand, I started wrestling at 35, which... Steve Austin retired at 37. Edge just retired at 34. I started at 35. My career took off at 40. That was 96, 97, 98. I was on top of the world. And then I ruptured my L4 and L5. So I was sort of like forced into doing yoga. I normally would have to get started. I developed a workout for DDP Yoga called Wake Up, because I just wanted to get the juices flowing and start breaking up the scar tissue. And I did that workout for years before I made it part of the DDP Yoga workout program. But when I stopped eating wheat and dairy, which is about 3 years ago, I have not done that workout. So I do wake up feeling like, man, I'm 55 and I feel awesome when I wake up. And that was not happening for many, many days.
No question. One of the things I was going to say to you, and I'm not a big fan of sucking up, so it's just a real basic compliment, is that you care about community, and a lot of people say they do. And what I've seen over your shoulder when I look at how you interact with people and how you reference other people, it's always about your community. And you've done really well, and I'm curious to know how this translated back in wrestling days when it was a slightly different dynamic. But you know that the people are what make you successful. I mean, yeah. You've got to do your work, but if you don't give them all the love you can, it doesn't matter how great you're doing, because no one's there just to be your audience, I guess, is my point. How did that change from the wrestling days, and how did you come to embrace it as strongly as you do?
I think when the wrestling days, when I was first the character Diamond Dallas Page, I was trying to create this bigger than life character, wrestling character. It never really got over with the people. And I realized at some point in 96, and there was other people who were giving me, little bits of information that I was processing. I realized when Paige Joseph Falkenberg, which is my real name, was trying to be Diamond Dallas Page, it never really worked. But when Diamond Dallas Page started to take on the characteristics of Paige Joseph Falkenberg, the passion, the work ethic, the telling it like it is, when it became that guy who was really me, amped up, it really got over. And it got over in a way, Chris, I can't tell you today, when I meet someone who realizes, oh my God, DDP, and they hug me and they say, you don't know, brother, you just don't know. But I do. I do know, because it's happened so many times on so many levels. And I reached out and touched people in a way that it wasn't bullshit to them. They realized what I was saying, a lot of it was really real.
Right.
Because in my promos back with WCW, I would say, they said I was never going to be a top guy. They say I was never going to be a main eventer. They were wrong. Mm-hmm. And I would be talking right to the people who made the decisions, because I was going to prove them that work ethic equals results. Now, how does that translate into DDP Yoga?
Right.
Same thing. Like right now, Chris, if anybody gets their program and it comes off of your website here and it says, they put in the little box, DDP Bang. And I have a little different thing for each show I do. If they put in DDP Bang, I guarantee you I will pick up the phone and call them. So who does that?
No one. See what I'm talking about? The guy is full of energy. Definitely worth it. And don't forget to mention his thing, DDP Bang, if you want to get a phone call from Diamond Dallas Page when you sign up. So I don't know, everyone decided I needed headsets. So I have a couple different headsets. I didn't want to take them out of the box right away because I wanted to show you. This is the US Army Universal Gaming Headset with 3D effect. By the way, don't forget, it's not a game anymore for the Army. I mean, a lot of what we do is with remote devices now. There's drones, the Predators, there's all these unmanned, automated vehicles that require people to work at a distance. The Army has been really serious about video games for a long time, but they're just definitely going Army strong with their support of video games. So this headset is hardcore. And again, just think about this. This is, it's not exactly a combat-ready headset, but it is the kind of thing that, there we go. This is the kind of thing that, you are going to put on and feel like you're in the game. The minute I put the headset on, the earphones, like, that covers stuff up. This mic is awesome, and it gives me a couple different ways to plug in. I've got really hardcore RCA, adapters to this thing, and then I've got sort of the plain old headset jack, and I've got a USB. I've got just so many ways to connect this to a gaming system. I've got a whole volume set up here, a mic thing, a chat up and down, a game sound volume. This is a hardcore headset for gaming, but I think it'd make a great webcam headset, especially if you're doing just audio only. This mic is great, it's positioned nice. Everything about this headset, right out of the box, you saw me fight with that thing, is just right. I think it's a really great product. So it is the Universal Gaming Headset. It works for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC. Doesn't mention Wii, but if you're on Wii, you're not playing those kinds of games. I know, I've got the Wii. This is the deal. Check it out, though. I think it's pretty rocking. It's got the little U.S. Army logos on it. If you're a Marine or a Navy person, perhaps you change those logos. I don't know. Just tell your Army buddies. Next one up is a Velodyne. This is the V-Pulse, bringing the bass. It is a ribbon type headphone, in the ear kind of headphone. This is something that you not necessarily used for gaming. I happen to have been sent blue. The color blue, which I guess suggests to me that there's lots of other different colors. In unboxing this, it comes with a pretty little case and everything like that. It's shaped like a V. It's got the ear things, and let's just take a look-see. I like the packaging. It's ribbon style, which I had never seen before, and they're gonna hate me for saying it, but they remind me of the way Monster does their Beats line. But it's not like anyone patented the idea of doing ribbon style headphones before. It's got an on-off button right here, so it handles voice, I'm assuming, as well. Let's double check that. Volume up, answer the call, track forward, back, and volume down. This thing does a lot of stuff. It's not works with iPhones, iPads, Androids, and everything, of course. It's nice. The earbuds that come with it are the right size for my ear. Feels nice, they fit snug. The thing puts it in. So this is a V-Pulse Bring the Bass. I'm going to listen to them and just give you a little sense of what that's going to be like too. Let me just come back with a little listening. These are cool. V-Pulse, Bring the Bass. I happen to have other competing headset to these in-ear as well, and these do a fine job. Definitely give them a chance. So a little while back, I put it out there that if you were a PR company or someone who wanted to send me something and you want me to check it out, throw it in the mailbag. Let's see what happens. I got some interesting things. So I have kids, they play the Wii. I got an inflatable sports car. This was crazy. CTA inflatable sports car. It says essential for Wii racing games, though I will argue the essentiality of it. It is so fun. It's pretty cool. My kids are 6 and 9. The 9-year-old can sort of fight her way into it just fine. The 6-year-old was, absolutely ideal for the thing. It is smushy. It is just basically a big inflatable car with a really good Wii steering wheel. You can stick your Wii controller in there. So far that might be the winner for crazy things in the mailbag. I mean, things that don't tick. How do you get even more interesting than being an investigative reporter for the New York Times? Oh yeah, you write a book that's incredibly powerful and useful about how to improve and change your habits. How to even understand the way that habits work. Charles Duhigg was quite an interesting guy to interview. I'll give you the short interview here, and there'll be a little bit more with a link right there. We're back with Charles Duhigg, who is investigative reporter at the New York Times, but also, more interestingly, the author of the book called The Power of Habit, which is why we do what we do in life and business. I don't even remember my subtitles. Subtitles are used just for booksellers to sell books, I think. But when you've had feedback and all that so far on the book, I mean, it's just recently hitting, but I mean, of course, you've had some advanced copies and things. What was surprising to you? What was the part where you kind of like went, I didn't really think of it that way, but this is what came back at me?
What was surprising, and this is actually, well, I'll say two things, one of which is good and one of which is bad. The best surprising part is, basically what the book is about is that in the last decade we've got this we've developed this new understanding of the neurology of habit formation, what we call the habit loop, a cue, a routine, and a reward. And if you understand the structure of habits according to studies, you can change them. And so what's been really gratifying is people emailing saying, look, I read your book and I've had this one thing that's been bugging me for years, this habit I can't seem to kick, and your book sort of helped me understand why it exists, and I've been able to overcome it.
Wow.
Which I think all of us feel, right? Like, we're all successful people, we all manage to make it through the day, and yet when we pass the donuts on the table, it's impossible to resist them. So that's been really gratifying, is people who have emailed in saying, I feel like I've learned something enormously, that I can use in my life right away. What's been equally surprising to me is people who email who say, I totally don't believe you at all. Like I think that our habits are set in stone and we can't change them. Because again, the science in the last 10 years, it's been actually kind of revolutionary within video game design, product design, how companies operate. It's been implemented, and yet there seems to be a group of people who just say, you're full of it, man. There's nothing here. There's nothing here that can change how I behave every day. And I actually think there's a belief gap there. There's just some people who fundamentally don't like the concept of change.
Why don't more people, is it just because it's so hard? Why do more people not believe that? Or why are they so willing to say, I'm going to be the way I am for the rest of my life?
I think there's two reasons. The first of which, the chapter you mentioned, the last one about the neurology of free will, is a really great example, because the main character in that chapter is a woman who essentially became a gambling addict, right? And we know from brain studies that this is actually an addiction that she essentially had no control over. It was a habit dysfunction. She saw casinos differently than almost everyone else. But when I talked to her, she went to the Supreme Court to argue that she shouldn't have to pay her debts. When I talked to her, she still believes, she fundamentally refuses to take any responsibility really for what happened. Mm-hmm. That it's other people, and I think that's a mentality that people can get really easily into, right? Like, if I take responsibility even a little bit, that means I have an obligation to change. I think the other part of it, though, that's actually as important is whether you have social support, right? So there's a chapter about Tony Dungy, a football coach, and the science of Alcoholics Anonymous. And what both of them found was that in order to win the Super Bowl or stop drinking, you need to believe, and you need a community around you to help cement that belief. Mm-hmm. And I think people who don't have that community, they basically emotionally can't believe that change is possible.
If musicians go to a movie, they pay attention to the score. If film guys go to the movie, they're wondering how to, I hung out with a bunch of guys from the cable industry, and they could not just sit and drink their beer. They had to look at, artifacts on the basketball game behind the counter. And I was just like, shut up and let's drink. What's that for you, Charles?
That's an excellent question. I think that the number one thing it's actually when I meet other people, mm-hmm. I begin thinking immediately about how much I can learn about them that they would probably be uncomfortable, right? So anyone that I meet, I can basically figure out how much money they earn, whether they own their house, what they paid for their house, if they've ever been sued, if they've been divorced before. I actually have a database that I use all the time, multiple databases, to figure all this stuff out. And it does kind of freak people out. I don't mention it a lot of the time because it's not common to meet someone and like them be able to find out in 5 minutes how much money they make and whether they own their house or they ever got divorced. But on the other hand, that's kind of my stock and trade is to figure that stuff out. So I'd say that's the number one thing that occurs to me. That and just looking for what people want to hide. Companies want to hide things from you. But under by law, usually they have to admit at least a little bit of it. And so I find I'm more sensitive to that.
Last question.
Sure.
With that in mind, I mean, how did you escape being that film at 11 guy? You know, I don't have TV, and when I actually end up somewhere where I'm stuck watching TV, and least of all when it's on a local channel, it's like, you know, the water you drink could be killing you. Find out at 11. I mean, you made it to the Times. Like, you could write that same story and everyone would be like, oh, it could be killing me. Listen, there's so much more to that interview. Just go to this link here and check it out. And Charles Duhigg was quite an interesting character. The book is The Power of Habit, and it is definitely worth picking up. And that's it. We've wrapped up another episode of Shh, The Secret Show. If you want more interesting, more useful stuff, every single week I send you a free newsletter via the Human Business Works newsletter. I reply back. The secret of this newsletter, and don't tell anybody, I actually reply. So if you read the email and the newsletter and something catches your eye, or you've got a thought, a question, an idea, or whatever, send me a reply. Just hit reply. It's a real live email address. It goes right to me. I'm the only guy reading it, unless there's a technical problem, and then I send it to the gang. Everything is all there. So send it back, and you will see a whole different side of things than just what you see on Shh, The Secret Show. Again, welcome on board to my sponsors, GoToMeeting, and guys, we'll see you again in the next episode.